Okay, our session is being recorded. I'll let you go ahead and explain things to the group, Yelena.
All right. My name is Yelena, and I'm a Watson Analytics System Administrator. So the purpose of tonight's meeting is to help you get started with learning the software. All right. So I guess I need to get control because I'm unable to. Oops. Okay. Yes, I have to get the presenters right. All right. So here is tonight's agenda. I'm going to explain what Watson Analytics is, and most of you, all of you actually received an invitation. So after this, after this class, if you have not accepted your invitation, I would like you to do that. All right, and then we'll go over the 3Ds of Watson Analytics. We'll go over how to refine the data, how to do post the natural language questions. I'm going to show you how to do the models, how to display your findings, and how to save the work, and some useful resources. All right. What is Watson Analytics? Watson Analytics is an application that helps you understand your data, and it's mostly like a human language. You post your question, and you get your answer. Uh, Now, there is a very little learning curve, and tonight I'm gonna need a volunteer to count how many lines of code I'll need to write, right? All right. So, and this is a video. It's a very interesting video. Check out. It's not magic. It's Watson Analytics. All right. So, most of you remember the Jeopardy game way back in 2011 where very smart machine was playing against two contestants, right? And that set the stage for the development of Watson Analytics application, right? Okay, so how do we get started? Yesterday morning, I created your accounts. You need to use accounts under my subscription. It's called UMUC Butinskaya. That's a subscription that you're going to use. And the reason is your assignment will require creating the storybooks. Your assignment will require working in a team. And to do that, you have to use the professional subscription, right? Uh, so I used the email in Leo, and if that failed, you were contacted. But you have to remember to check your junk folder because sometimes that's where you find the invitation. Unfortunately, I'm unable to resend it, so you have to make sure you find it. And this is my email. If you find that you're having some difficulties accessing an application or anything like that, this is my email here. And after this, you're gonna have a copy of the slides. All right. So this is how the email looks like. I put it just a screenshot. Uh, Now, very important. All of you have to take the course. You go to the Cognitive Class webpage, you register, and it's totally free. But you need to complete this course. Set aside about 4 to 5 hours to do so. And basically, you have to pass the course. You need to submit the certificate. There is only one attempt to pass the course. So you really have to pay close attention when you take those videos in the course, and you pay very close attention tonight. Because I'm not gonna, I may or may not explicitly tell you that it's an answer to the test question, but I'll go over the material that you have to know for this test and for your assignments, right? Here's the deal, yes? Uh, Basically, when you take the test, you have end of the course test. And when you take the class, you have end of the course test, and you have 1 hour to take it, and it's worth 50% of that grade for that course. Then you also have the end of the unit. Each unit ends with a test, right? There are like 3 or 4 questions, three, and it's timeless, and you get 2 shots for the multiple choice, one attempt for true and false. So now remember, you don't want to be using your browser back button, and you have to submit your test before 1 hour time limit elapses. So if you don't submit, it's not gonna automatically give you credit for what you answered correctly. You're gonna get 0 points, right? And you want to work in a location where you have a stable internet connection, because if you get disconnected, sometimes you might not be able to go back in a test. Now here, this is how the interface looks like of that course that you need to take. Keep in mind that these buttons right here, they're not real, they're decorative. And so to navigate, you have to use this menu in the left panel. Now you have an option to download the transcript. Please do so, because it's easier to remember the information when you do both. You want to watch the video and read the transcript. It's a higher likelihood that you remember more when you watch, right? When you read and when you listen. All right? It's just a tip. Anyhow, now some of you might be wondering, what should you do when you don't do well? Well, first of all, let's not think about it. And just in case, what you need to do is take screenshots of the questions. Like this is an example. I got it wrong, right? I know that true is wrong answer. Then I would have to go in and register as a different user to retake the test. But I know that if I answered true, it was wrong, then I know the answer must be false, right? So if you feel like you're not doing well, take screenshots of what you missed. So that way you can just look it up, and when you retake, you're going to do better. But in general, there is only one attempt to take the test, okay? And all of you are going to do well. Now, this is Watson Analytics login page. Well, I know yesterday you received an email, but you need to accept an invitation only once, okay? Next time you'll use this page to log in. So I would recommend that you put a bookmark in your browser now, and you're going to be prompted to enter your IBM ID. IBM ID is an email address where you received the invite yesterday, and this is the password, right? It's the same password that you created during the registration. Yeah. Something else to remind you. If you already had an account under my subscription, your account is still active and you still have access to your files. But if you don't remember your password, you enter your IBM ID, right? And then click on Forgot, and then go through the password reset steps. If I email you that you have an account, right, you already have active account under my subscription, and if you don't remember your IBM ID, then you need to contact me, because I have a tracking file of all accounts starting from the fall 2016. Okay? Now, let's move on. I'm going to share my screen, but before I do that, what I did was I labeled it for you. This is a landing page, right? So pay attention. You've got the data, discover, and display. There are 3 tabs on the main page. Basically, the way it works is that first we need to upload the data, and you could refine the data just by defining the filters, calculated columns, and so on. Then we're going to build our models, which is discover, and then we're going to display our findings, right? And I will go over this page in more details when I start sharing the screen. But before we do that, I want you to remember that we're not going to use the back button. Back forward button cannot be used. Instead, you're going to use the menu. You're going to use the application menu instead of using the back button. Okay? This is very important. Please remember that. All right. And there is a very rich help menu. In every screen, you will see that little question mark icon. It's located at the top right. Whenever you click on that icon, see you got the help menu. So you can take a tour, or you can see the different documentation. And they've done an excellent job with keeping it up to date. All right. Now, this is important. The workflow, it goes in this order: data, discover, display. I call it 3Ds. Data, discover, display. Right? All right. Come on. Okay. I'll show you how to add data, but here I just summarize. There are different data sources, but for this class you're gonna use the sample data, or you're going to upload the files from your desktop. And also there is the shared folder. I'll show you. Let's go ahead and start sharing the screen. Share my screen. Oops. And now I need to get into here. So basically, when you log into your account, this is what you're going to see. This is a landing page, and here it got 3 tabs: data, discover, display. Now, look here. In the left panel, you see personal and shared. A personal area, those are the files that belong to you. Only you can see it, and me, I can see what you have. I'm a system administrator. When I log in as an administrator, I can see it. Alright, this is a shared folder. You're gonna see the files that are shared with you, and at the moment you will see this folder with sample data sets. Those are the data sets that I took from the Kaggle webpage or from other different web pages, and I uploaded here for your convenience, and I'll show you how to use them. But first, let's go over this screen here. What you see in here are the data sets, and when you start, you may have like 1 or 2 perhaps, right? I have more than that, because basically when you register for an account, you have an option to choose 4, right? So you're going to have 4 perhaps, and then there is one that comes with it. Whenever you create your account, you're gonna get one that comes with it, and you also, whatever you save, right, it's gonna be in here in your personal area. Now, oops, what did I do? Not yet. All right, here we go. So I wanted to show you something here. This here, you're able to toggle. I can do the list view of my data, or I can do the tile view. Well, you might think it's simple, but if I'm going over something, it's important. You will see it later. Anyway, take a look at this. So this is, I can toggle, right? I can sort my data. Well, right now I only have few data sets, but suppose that I have 100 of them. So what are the sorting options? It's by name, by date when the data was last modified, data quality score, and type. Type is basically the Excel file, or if it's a CSV file, or if you were working with other data sources such as social media, right, you would have had more types. But for right now, let's just say CSV and Excel. That's what you'll be doing. All right, and data quality score is right here. You can be more organized. You can create folders and subfolders, and you can organize your data. Like for example, I can create the new folder, and it has to be in my personal area, and I'm gonna name it assignment 2, right? And then if I have files that are related to assignment 2, I'm gonna save them in this folder, right? I'm gonna save them in this folder, and folder can have a subfolder. I believe you can have it up to 4 or 5 levels of nesting of the folders, right? And to delete the folder, you click here and you delete. But something to keep in mind is that if you delete in a folder, all the files that you have in that folder will be deleted, and also there is no undo, there is no recycle bin, right? Okay, now let's see how you can add the data. This is new data, right? You click on new data, and you have several options here. We're going to use the sample data. That data comes from the Watson Analytics catalog. And to add it, you would just do this. You would just select the data set that you want to add, and click on import, right? Okay, see this? I can do this. I can click on import. Okay, and it's processing. what's actually happening is that Watson Analytics is trying to find the relationships among the columns in your data, right? Uh, that's why it says processing. Remember, at any time you can have only one file with the same name in your personal area. We cannot have two files with the same name. Now, what else I did for you is I saved those files right here. Oops. If you go in the shared, if you go in the shared folder, and if you expand it, oops, those are, oops. Okay, let's see. If you expand this here, you're going to see the files. You're going to see the folder. It's called more data sets. See this? Sometimes you go into experience with this. So, okay, let's see. Let's try it. Okay. Sometimes if you refresh the page, it will do it. All right. So here it is. See the shared, more simple data sets. Very important. Since this is shared, you have a view-only permission for this. What you need to do in order to use this data set, I'll show you what you need to do. For example, this is a restaurant inspection score data. You have to save a copy to your personal area. So you're going to click on ellipsis. You're going to go to refine, and now what you're gonna do is from here you're going to click here, and you're going to select Save As, and then you're gonna select Personal, and you're gonna click Save. This is what you're going to do, right? So this is how you're going to use the data from that folder. And this view, it looks like a spreadsheet, right? So what it's doing right now, it's saving the file, but see this top row, where the column names in the Excel file that I uploaded. At some point I uploaded the Excel file. So those are the column names in Excel file, right? So you have to make sure that the column names in the data that you're uploading are descriptive, right? So this is my menu. Look here. I'll show you something. See this? Right here, it shows me that I have this file open right now. If you ever see an asterisk next to the file name, it means that you have not saved your last change. If you don't see the asterisk, it means that you have saved your last change. And to close the file, you click on X. And it's going to take you back to the landing page. Now, what else you can do is you can upload the files to your personal area from your desktop. So now we have to make a little rule here. You are going to upload the work. For right now, everything goes to the personal folder only. Things that get saved in the wrong place will be unfortunately deleted. And the reason is we have more than 500 users in the system. Whenever something is in a shared area, it can be edited, it can be deleted, seen by anyone, right? And it gets really big mess. We don't know whose work it is and so on. So anything that's saved in here in the root of shared folder will be, what will happen? It will be deleted, right? So Yelena is paying close attention to this, right? Okay. Now, how do we import the files from the desktop? You're gonna click on New Data, and then you're gonna click on a local file. You're gonna click Browse, and then you find the files that you want to import, like for instance Risk Students, right? And I want you to watch. I'm gonna get an error, but I want you to see it. Okay, I'm going to import this file. Now, important. You can import more than one file. If you import more than one file, Watson Analytics will create a separate tile for each. It's not going to add this to a single file. It's going to be a separate tile for each data set that you import. Alright? So whenever you're done, you click Import, and see this, I get this error. And I got this error because I already have a file with this name, right? So let me just do it like this. Okay, and I'm gonna hit confirm. Right? So there are certain rules, certain naming conventions for the not there are certain rules for the files that you're going to import, and I need to go over it because okay, the data must be structured in a tabular format. Your data, the data that you import, has to look like a table. If this one I have to point out. If the Excel workbook has more than one tab, in theory, you get a choice of which tab you want to import. However, when you take a test, important, there is a question, true and false question. It asks you true or false whenever you have an Excel file with more than one tab, the fourth tab gets imported. For the purpose of the test, please choose true for that question. If you see that question, I think it's question number 3. It asks you if you have more than one, if you have more than one tab in an Excel file, the first tab gets imported. Answer true. Okay? Well, because this change was recent, and I have not had the chance to update the course, but updating the test question requires creating a totally new version of the course. So this is complicated. So anyhow, on that question, just answer true. Okay? Now, you want to make sure that your data has at least one numeric field, and you want to make sure the values in the same column have the same data type. So I'll show you some examples of what not to do. And you cannot have empty columns in the middle, and make sure that file is not password protected. So here are some examples that are not going to work, like this one, because you cannot have extra formatting in a file. Like you see, there's the colors, you cannot have that. Now here, the problem is that it's not clear what A1, A2, A3. When you try to ask questions about the data, you really don't know what it is, right? Here, the problem is that age. See this? I have teenager and have numbers in here. So that's not going to work. You want to have the same test type. It should be either age range, right? Or just the number, right? You cannot have both. And here I just put an error message. You're going to have, this is exactly the error that I got, right? This is an error message I received. It's because I already had a file with the same name. You cannot have more than one file with the same name in the same folder. So now we're going to look at the refining. For the refining, I'll show you what you can do, but remember that we cannot do the queries. Any SQL or anything like that is not supported. Just remember that, alright? So now, let me show you what you can do in there. Oops. Aha, I got another error. And I got this error because my file has two tabs. I have to select which tab I want to import, and I want the first one. So now it's going to upload. If you receive that error, right, you know now the solution. So sometimes when I do presentation, I make an error because I want to show you how to solve it, right? Okay, so now this is uploaded my file, and it's computing the data quality score. It's just looking at every column in my data, right? Important, it's not looking at every data value. It's looking rather at every column as a whole. So let me click here and I'll go refine. Right, so I'm opening the spreadsheet view in here, and if you click right here, it shows you the data quality score for each column, not for every value in the column, but for the column. Now notice that the quality is higher here because the values are sort of evenly distributed. Here the distribution is close to normal, but when the distribution is skewed or when you have missing values, the data quality score is lower, right? So here it is. Now here, you notice that it's not giving me anything. That's because this column is a unique identifier. It identifies each row uniquely. Looks like there is only one person per county. Here, the problem is my data sample is from New York. So every single value in here is New York. In general, if I was doing analysis, I would probably take out this column. Well, I would keep this one because if I want to do the visualization, perhaps I want to do the map, right? But this one, I would probably take out, right? So what else can we do in here? I can add a calculation. Now remember, adding a calculation adds a new column, right? It adds a new column. Like see here, for example, I have a cost, and I can add another column, and I'll call it the discounted cost. So to do that, I'm going to click on this plus, and I'm going to click on the calculation, and here I have to name it. I can say discount cost, right? And here what I'm going to do is I need to pick the column, and I'm going to pick the cost. Well, notice that it does not show me all columns here, so sometimes I have to type a little search. See this? And then pick the student cost, and I'm going to subtract 1000. So that's going to be another column. I click on done, watch, and that added another column to this data set. When I create my calculation, I can use I can use columns in this current data set, but I cannot use columns in other data sets. I cannot use columns from another data set in my personal folder or anything that was shared with me. It has to come from the same data sets. If I wanted to, I can make a copy of this column and then create another calculation based on the column, and you can do the functions here. So at your leisure, play with this, right? Now, what else we can do? This is going to be important. The binning, right? Binning, it's also called the data group. It's also called the discretization. Basically, you have the numeric variable cost, and sometimes you want to look at the cost range. That's what basically the binning does. And there is a difference on how it's handled for numeric variables and for the categorical variables. There is a binning for categorical variables, where perhaps I have the counties. Perhaps I want to organize the counties into 5 regions and so on, right? But before I do anything, I have to save. Here, see this? This is a menu here, right? Save. But when I click here, it's going to run, it's going to call the first item in the menu. So clicking on this icon is the same thing as selecting save from this menu. So I'm going to click on save, and this is saving. While it's saving, you see the little globe spinning, and see this asterisk, right? It's going to disappear once the file is saved, right? Sometimes it may take a little while to save, but what you need to do is you need to be a little patient and let it save. Don't click on the back browser button. Okay, now it's done. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a data group, right? And I have my student cost. Well, one way, there are many ways to do it. So let me click on here, this side, and I'm going to add the data group. Now, here I have to select the columns that I'm going to use, and I click on here. So I'm going to select the cost. But if I don't see it, if my data set has multiple columns, what you can do is you can type the search, and it will pick it up for you. Now, here I have to put my new column name, and I'm going to say cost range, right? Here, very, very important. if the variable is numeric, right, cost is a continuous number. By default, Watson Analytics will have the predefined bins. By default, it takes 5 bins, and each bin has equal width. So this is default. By default, you have 5, and you can override the default. You can change the number of bins, and you can define a custom, right? Custom bin size. I'm not going to change the default. I'll keep the default right now, and I'm going to keep done, right? So this is for the numeric variable. Now I have a categorical variable. Categorical variable is a discrete. Like for example, I have the county, right? It's a fixed set of counties, and it's not numeric, where price is a numeric and it's a continuous, because there is no fixed set of values, right? Here we have a fixed set of values, and what I could do is I could split them in ranges, perhaps. So let me create another column, and I'm gonna call it region. Now I have to create now data group, scissors data group, and I'm going to pick county, and I'm going to enter region. The difference between the categorical variable is in numeric is that my bins are not predefined. I have to physically go in and create the groups. They're not predefined. But what I see here is a list of possible values, and I have a 62. So I have to create a new group here, and I can call it region 1, and I can create another group, and I can call region 2, right? And what I have to do now, I have to drag and drop. I have to pick this and drag and drop to the group where I want to put it, right? Oops. So basically you have to drag and drop, right? Oh, there we go. Take a look at this. I selected the group, and then I just double click. That's one way to do it, right? Now I select this group. Now be careful with this. If you don't assign this to a group, then your data row, the data row that has this value, will have a blank value in this region column. See this? Now I'm going to make a mistake on purpose, and I'm going to click done. So when I go back, my region column got added, but it's going to have a problem. It's going to have missing values. See this? The value is missing. And the reason is I did not assign all of these counties to the region. I made a mistake. So how did I fix it? Look, I have to click on the column name in here, and I have to click on this ellipsis. I have to click on the properties, and then in here I have to click on edit data group, and then I can create region 3. Right? I can create region 3, and I can continue. Alright, I have to keep on assigning until I have nothing left in here, right? Well, I just let you play with it, but I'm just gonna click done, just for right now, right? Now what I can do is, I can hide certain columns. So let's click here. This is the list of my columns in the data set. So now I can just pick, what did we call it? We called it a region. I can unclick, and I can unclick this cost range too. If I don't want to use this, if I don't want the user to use this, right? If I don't want the user to see it, and it's going to be hidden from the view. But keep in mind that if I hide it, I won't be able to see it in all visualization. Okay. Well, Yelena did something. I may have accidentally hit the shortcut for the back button or something like that. So that's gonna happen. Okay, so now I have to remember to save my work, right? There we go. It's saving my work, and I wanted to tell you that Watson Analytics identifies the hierarchy in the data, and I'll show you. Since you have a state and you have a city within the state, right? So Watson Analytics will attempt to find the hierarchy. This is a very good example here. You have a state and a county, and that allows drilling down in your data. So for the hierarchy, it can be identified by Watson, or ultimately you can create your own. And as we start doing the visualization and displays, I'll show you how you can use it in your visualizations. But for right now, what we're gonna do is we're going to go back to the landing page, and I'll show you what you can do with the models. So I can, if I click on my data in here, it's gonna give me a set of the suggestions, set of possible predictions that I can do, right? Just by default, it analyzed my data and it figured out what I might be interested in. Okay, see this, what drives risk? So the data I'm looking at, I wanted to identify if my student is at risk of the academic failure, and I want to see which factors could be predictors if the student is at risk. So here it is. What are the driver at risk? Risk is going to be my target variable. At any time, you can have only one target variable. So when I click on this question, I created a new discovery workbook, and this is a spiral visualization. Then the predictor of the dependent variable risk, right? It's called a driver. And it could be one driver, or it could be combination of two fields will drive will be a driver, right? Combination of two. But I'll tell you that the top predictor of the risk is a number of absences, right? So in online class, it's how many times, how many weeks you did not participate in a discussion, perhaps, right? Now, see this? You can toggle. You can see only the drivers that are combination of a single field, or you can do the two fields, or you can do both. The closer this pin is to the center of this bullseye, the stronger is the predictor. Each pin corresponds to a predictor. Well, in this case, they overlap. And see that the predictors are sorted by the predictive strength. And now we have a relatively good model. The predictive strength is 85%. And in here, see this? Watson Analytics is trying to determine what I might be interested in. Right? It's trying to determine what I might be interested in based on what I'm looking at here. Here, this is called the data tray, and I can use this to filter my data. But any filters that I apply will apply to this discovery workbook. It won't apply to all other workbooks that I beam from the same data set. But just keep that in mind, that this is a data tray, and in the interface here is somewhat similar to the refined interface that you saw a while ago. You can also create the calculation, and you can also create a hierarchy and a data group, right? Now, here you can define the formatting, and I'll show you more on a different visualization type. And you can change the visualization type, right? So now let's close this out, and I can look at one driver more in details. So see this, I can click on the plus sign, and it's going to add another tab. Here it's just showing me the specific details on the number of absences, right? Like how it drives if the student is at risk or the student is not. So see this, the green one, the green bar is not at risk, and the blue is at risk. So that's percentage of students with 4 or more absences that are at risk of the academic failure. Now, suppose that I want to see if gender has an impact on academic success. What I need to do is I can drag and drop my gender here. This is called a multiplier because I want to see a separate plot like this for gender, right? And in here I can see that the gender probably doesn't have a really significant impact because the bar height is approximately the same. And what I could also do is I can hover here. If I put my mouse here, it's going to give me more details. It's going to tell me the number of people that fall into this category. Yeah, I believe it's number of students. Now what I could also do is I could change how this plot looks like. I can go to the format, I can do show height title, and I can change how the heading looks like. And I can click here and I can check and uncheck what I want to show, right? Height shows a legend, and there are also different variations of this. And I can make it stacked and I can make it unstacked, right? Then I can change if I want to see abbreviation, if I want to see the actual numbers, and I can change my colors. I can change the background color, or I can add the border around my visualization and so on, right? And I can also filter my values, right? I can apply filters here, such as class rank and so on, right? Now, I want to change the names of this tab, and let me do it risk by absences by gender, right? Here it is. And here I want to rename it as risk drivers. Risk driver. Now next thing I'm gonna show you is we're gonna do the decision tree. Okay, let's save it. And we're going to name it as risk visualizations, right? Oops. There we go. And I'm going to click on save. Now, let's click on here. It will add another visualization. Now I have to type the question in, right? Let me see. What drives risk, right? And I'm going to see the decision tree is one of the visualizations. See this? What is the predictive model for the risk? I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to add my decision tree. Now here I have two views, important. So this is the rules view. Basically, rules tells me this is the profile of students who fall into a certain category. So here, this is not at risk. The students with these characteristics are not at risk for academic failure. I have 1011 students who have no more than one absence, and this is the number of times they visited the health center, and they belong to at least one club, and their overall GPA is above 2.01. So this is a category of students who are not at academic risk. Now I go down here. This is another category of students who are not at the risk of not at academic risk. And I keep on going. So these profiles are sorted by the percentage, and they're sorted descending. I can change my sort order, or I can also change the category. Right now I'm looking at not at risk. I can also look at risk. So here it is. This is a profile of students who are at risk, and this is actually true. If you miss 5 or more participations in the online class, guess what it means, right? So I have 74 students like that. Now, here I have 226 students who were absent 1 to 4 times. They don't belong to any clubs, and they visited the health center at least 0 times. And this is the Excel program. Yes, and this is the number of class hours that they completed, right? Okay, now the categorical variable is a target, right? At risk or not at risk. Now what I want to look at the tree views. Now I looked at the rules, and here I want to look at the trees. Here this is the root node, and to look at this I have to zoom in. These buttons control what you can see. I can zoom in. Now what else I could do? I can click on a node to collapse it. I can expand and collapse my tree branches. Right now I just collapse, and I want to, when I click on my root node, I will see the number of observations that fall into that node. And the way you read the tree is you want to see the variable name written on a line, right? So I'm trying to collapse everything, and I'm trying to see just the root node. So this is the root node, right? Now I can click here, and let me zoom in. You want to zoom in. Now here, the label here is a variable name. And it's actually the number of absences. See, sometimes you have to play around with it a little bit. Sometimes you have to play around with the zoom. Okay? So first variable is going to be the number of absences. This is how you read the tree. You have to traverse it from the root down. You traverse the tree from the root down. Okay? Now here, this piece here just shows you, here it is. See this? This is my root node, all records, and this is the number of absences. So the way I read this is this. If number of absences is greater than 4, I fall right here. And if I hover, look, I can toggle. If I change this view, if I hover, it's going to tell me the percentage of students in this node that are at risk and they're not at risk. In this case, I have 74 students, and 100% of those students are at risk. They fall into this category. Now, suppose that the number of absences is different, right? I have to toggle this view here to see, right? So, now here, this node, I'm looking at the club membership, right? So if I fall in this node, I have to look at the club membership. Okay? So here it tells me the number of people who are at risk and not at risk, and the total number of people. Well, this percentage is out of the whole. Okay, 44 is 44% out of the whole number of rows in the data set, right? And the other two numbers is 27%. It's out of 2,726. Okay, so this is my next significant predictor, club membership, right? So this is how I keep on reading this. And then if I fall into this branch, I keep going until I reach the leaf node. Leaf node is also called the terminal node at the end of this. So you look at the class, the dominant class at the node, right? So whenever you have a new student, you would have to look at the number of absences, you have to look at all these values, and you have to traverse the tree. And the leaf nodes where you end up, right? You take a dominant class, and that's a class of the new category of the new student. That's how you use this model to predict if the new student is at risk. You have to traverse the tree. You have to check at the number of absences. You look at the club membership and so on. And then you look at the leaf node that you end up at. And since this variable is a categorical variable, you click on analysis, and it's going to give you the details. This is the predictive strength of the model. It's a classification accuracy. So how accurate is my model, in other words? Here, it's showing you which variables are significant, right? And looks like it is absences, club membership, infirmary visit, and the student's overall GPA, and so on, right? Now, here, this table shows you the breakdown. So how many students were predicted that they are at risk, that are actually at risk, not at risk, and predicted not at risk, and actually at risk. So whatever the numbers you see on this diagonal from top left from to bottom right, these are the correct predictions, and here are the erroneous, right? Because look at this. Those people are not at risk. They were identified by the model as at risk. And here they are at risk, but they were identified as not at risk. So this is a misclassification. And to determine how accurate your model is, you add the numbers on this diagonal and divide it by the total sum of numbers. You're going to revisit this topic later for your assignment 3, right? And here it just shows you how it was doing it. It's using the internal, it's doing the binning. It's grouping the number of absences. If you see it, here it's 4, and here I believe it was from 1 to 4, something like that, right? So here it's showing you which variables it's using in the model, right? And here basically just different ways to, you can zoom in, zoom out, and so on, right? So here, this is my categorical variable, and I'm going to name it as risk 3. I also have, I can have the numeric target variable, and we're just lucky that in this specific data set, we can choose the GPA, right? I can do this, I can type the question here, what's predictive model for GPA, right? And I'm going to do my decision tree. This is a overall GPA, that's right. I want to show you the differences. Okay, so here it is. And now notice, as always, it's going to give you the related discoveries that you might be interested in. Let's close this. And it's working on computing. It's working on computing the related. It's working on computing the rules, rather. Okay. Now, since my variable is numeric, it's going to be looking at the average GPA. It will find the people profiles and their average GPA. And here it's going to show me which variables it used for the calculations. So here, see this? These people who are not at risk of academic failure, and this is a change of GPA, negative or no change. This is the number of students who fall into this category, and this is their average GPA. Okay, so here I have another category, right? See that there is a little problem in here, student GPA and average GPA. So in general, you would probably want to exclude this, right? Now we keep on scrolling down, and this is sorted descending, right? Now you can look at the tree here. We looked at the rules, and this is how the tree is going to look like. And you've got different options. The darker the color code, the higher is the GPA. And you read it in the same way, right? You read it in the same way as you did for your thesis. So here I'm looking at risk. Top branch is at risk and the bottom branch is not at risk. Suppose that I'm not at risk. I'm going to click here. Next, I have to look at the change in GPA, and then have to look at more and other variables, and so on. This is what you do. But I'm not going to see the class. Instead, I'm going to see if it's above average or below average, and how much above average is it. What, did somebody say something? I thought somebody said something. Let me see the chat. No? Okay. I thought somebody said something to me. Okay, now, and here you can toggle the view also, right? There is different view, zoom in, zoom out, and so on, right? Let me rename it. I'm going to rename it as a 3 for GPI. Okay. Now let me save this here. So what I did was I created the discovery workbook. Let me close this out and close this. I'm going to be on the landing page. Now this is my personal area, and I'm on discover page. Now I want to present my findings, right? So I have to be on display, and watch what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna click on new display, and for today I'm going to stay on dashboards, and I'm going to name it as risk presentation. Alright, so this is a risk presentation. I'm gonna hit create. Now it's gonna give me an option. I can choose the layout, and I'm going to choose this. I usually like to choose this one. So this is a 4x4, and I'm going to rename it as, let's do it as risk data. I'm just gonna do this. And now what I have to do is I have to add my visualizations. I have several options here. I can create a brand new visualization, or I can add the visualizations that I created. Let's add what I created. I can click on the personal, and now I can do this. Take a look at this. This is what I just created today, right? I click on this arrow, I expand it, and each of these is a tab in the visualization workbook. So the reason I wanted to keep the names descriptive is because this is what I see here. If I don't name it right, then I don't know what I'm looking at. So now let's do this. Watch what I'm gonna do. I take this, I drag and drop, and I put my mouse on top of the arrow. This will fit this visualization to this area. Important concept. When I click on the visualization here, it's going to put my visualization that's called a focus mode. Focus mode. And while I'm in a focus mode, I see the data tray that I may use to filter this specific visualization. I also see the options to change the format of my visualization, including the background, the colors. I can change the visualization type, and so on, right? So I have this, and what I change will apply only to this visualization in this display. It will not apply to other displays that have the same visualization. It will only apply here, right? So this is a data tray, and this is called the focus mode. Just remember that, right? So now what I'm going to do, I have to save this and save, and I'm going to show you this is, I realize it's a lot of information, but it's important information. So now let's go ahead and put this here, risk drivers, and then I'm also going to put the risk tree. This is a tree for the risk. Now what I'll do is I'm going to create another visualization, and I'll show you. I'm going to use one, and I'm going to use a map this time. And since I have not created one, I have to do here new discovery, and I have to select the data set. It's my data set, and I'm going to do this one. But instead of number of absences, I want to do, let's do this. I want to look at the average cost by county. And it's supposed to give me, okay, what is the values of student by county? Well, okay, let's just do number of students by county. Does not matter. Oh, yeah, does not matter. But I want to show you something here. Well, I put this for a reason. So that way it's easier for you to see what I'm trying to show. So right now I see all counties, right? Do you see that? It's showing me all counties, and I'm in the focus mode. I see all. Here I have two tabs, right? And let me rename this. I'm gonna do this counties. Counties, right? I have this is my filter area. I can filter, I can apply the global filter to all tabs, or I can apply a filter to the single tab. Watch what I'm gonna do now. I'm going to apply a filter to all tabs, and this is what's gonna happen. Now I have to go to here. Oops, I click. Oh, here it is. Here it is, filters. What it's doing here, it's gonna give me, this is the data that I used, and these are available fields that I can filter on. I want to do the county, and well, by default it put on this tab. That's not what I want. So let me go ahead and delete this because I want it here. So let's see, I can drag and drop. There we go. Now I want to show you something. Well, nothing happened because I have not specified which counties I want to see, right? Now I'm gonna do edit filter values, and I'm going to check the counties that I want to see, right? And take a look at what's going to happen. The filter applied to all tabs. How do I know? Watch. This is my map. Do you see what happened? I no longer see all counties. I only see the counties that I selected in my filter, right? So I picked this map for a reason, and the reason is I want to show you how the filter works, right? See this? This is a map. I only see these cities, these two counties that I created. Now what I'm going to do is this. I'm going back to my risk data tab, and somehow I changed the order of tabs, but that's alright. Let me go in here. I'm going to delete this. Delete this. And what I'll do now, I'm going to add this again, county, and I'm going to define which counties I want to see, right? So edit filter values, and I'm going to do this. Okay. Now take a look at this. These visualizations are filtered, right? But what's happening? Guess what's gonna happen when I click on counties right now? Huh? It's going to refresh, and I'm going to see all. And the reason I see all because I changed my filter only to this specific tab, right? Just remember this. You can define the filter for all tabs, for a single tab, or for a single visualization, and you have to be in the focus mode. Okay? Now, I created this visualization on the fly. This visualization is not going to be available on the Discovery tab. That's a big difference. When I create when I just add my visualization here, just by clicking on this Discovery, New Discovery, it won't be available on the Discovery tab, okay? We create the visualizations on Discovery tab if we want them to be reusable in other workbooks. Important thing here is that in addition to visualizations, you can add widgets. And what type of widgets can you add? You have text, you have the image, you have the media, and you have the web page. Well, web page is not really fully functional, but for the image you add the URL of an image, text, and multimedia. So remember this. And also, of course, you can do shapes and so on. Okay, now let me go ahead and close this. I have to show you more stuff. So let's save this. Each workbook, each rather visualization, it's display. It can be in two modes. Right now we are in the edit mode. If I click on, oops, not this, on the glasses, right here, I'm gonna be in a view mode. While I'm in a view mode, I cannot make any changes. Right? This is view only. Here, this one, I can share. I can email my visualizations. Very, very important. In order to email my visualization, the recipient must be a user in this subscription. For example, I can go ahead and email it to you. On the other hand, I cannot email it to my parents because they're not under this subscription. I can download my images as well if I wanted to. And this is the options, right? This is the options for the download. Now let's go ahead and close this out. And one thing nice about the hierarchy is that I can drill down, right? I could right click on the state and then I can go up the hierarchy and it's going to show me the data for the state. If I go up, it's going to show me the data for the state. And how does it know it? It's because Watson Analytics defined the hierarchy for me. In theory, it could be this way. It could be country, state, and then county. It could be like this, right? Several layers. Another example would be year. Then you have months within a year, and you have a day, and you have an hour, right? So this is just an example of other hierarchies you can do. Okay, so let's go back. Let's save this first. And then I'm going to go back to the landing page. But before I forgot, these two are your friends. Redo and undo. What I just did here is that, look at this. I selected a point. And when you select a point, that's called a highlighter. It will highlight the same point in all visualizations. In all other visualization in this display. So now I'm going to clear highlighting. So I'm no longer selecting one point. And let's go ahead and save it, right? Okay. Oh, for some reason it's syncing a little bit. Now to go back to the landing page. Am I going to use the back button? I don't think so. I'm going to just click on this logo. It takes me back to the landing page. About asking questions. Few things about asking questions. There are multiple ways to do it. I can go here and I can type my question here. What are the risk factors? Pay attention. When I type my question here, it's going to search through all data sets that I have access to. It's going to search and attempt to find the visualization in every single data set that I can access to. See this? Where does this come from? Guess where does this come? Oops. And when I clicked on one of them, it's going to show me the discovery. I can click on one of them to see the visualization. Now I don't want it. I'm gonna click don't save right now. But do you see that what's gonna happen? It's going to search everything. And where do you think all this stuff is coming from? This is from shared, right? So this is not too bad because here I'm not logged in as an admin. So I have basically access to what's in my personal folder and also to what's in this more sample dataset folder, right? Which is not as bad. This is another reason I don't want anybody saving anything in the root of this shared folder, right? So let's see it here. Well, okay. Now, what I could also do, let's clear the search. I can also click here on the discovery page and type this. And this is the same. I'm going to get the list of data sets that with the data that could probably answer my questions. Those are the visualization, and I have a dataset name and a folder where when the data is located. So this is a list of starting points, right? They're sorted by relevancy. On the other hand, if I click on specific data set, if I'm in a data, if I click on specific dataset, and if I type my question, Watson Analytics will only analyze the dataset that I clicked on, right? Here, I'm searching only a single dataset that I clicked on. I'm not doing a global search, in other words, right? So I want you to remember that. Alternatively, this is what else I can do. I can go to Discover. I can click on New Discovery. Then I can pick the table, the dataset name rather, and then I'm going to pick the question. If I ask a question this way, I'm only going to ask, the question is going to be applicable only to the dataset that I clicked on, right? If you're not sure how to ask a question, you click here, and then here you have a variety of question types. Predict data, sort and filter, aggregate data. So I want you guys to play around with this. It really helps to have the column names descriptors, because what is this actually? This is the column name in your Excel file that you imported at some point, right? So if I name it ABC, it's not going to help me because I'm not going to know what that means. So suppose that I want this, I'm going to click on Ask, and it's going to give me a set of visualizations that I could be interested in, right? When we have a next class in 4 weeks from now, I'm going to show you more advanced on the visualizations. And we're going to do more in-depth on the displays that you can do. But now let me go back to the slides. Well, there is a lot of important information. And I want you guys to review these slides and review this presentation before you attempt to take a test, okay? Yeah, so remember data, discover, display. And also on the discover page, you can toggle between list view and tile view. You can sort your data, right? And on the display page, you also can toggle between list view and tile view. You can sort it, and you can also analyze. You can organize the data in the folders. Now, you can also see, this is for the data. Now for the data, you can click on ellipses, and you can click on the properties. Asset information, and it's going to tell you the file name and created by the person who imported the data. In this case, that's me, and the file size, right? This is how I do sometimes to catch who does what they're not supposed to do, right? Well, if you do this to data, right, if you save it where you're not supposed to do it, I'll be able to see it, but not for discovery, not for display, right? So what's going to happen is that anything saved in the wrong place will go where? On my admin account. On my admin account, it will go to the trash, right? If I go back to my admin account, this is what I did here. I have a folder that I call the trash. So whenever somebody saves something in the wrong place, it's going to go into this trash. And you're going to contact me to recover your file, right? I can do it with or without notice, because what we are talking about today, right, you can count it as a warning, because the reason is we have a lot of users, and since we have to share the system, there are some rules we need to follow, so we're going to help each other by following these rules, right? So let's go back to the non-admin user, which is this. Okay, now what we'll do, and also we have to make sure that I cover what's important. Remember that you can delete the data, you can delete the visualization, but is the recycle bin? No way, right? So here, this is a summary of what can be done and what cannot be done on the refined page. We cannot remember that we just cannot do any sequel in here. Okay? Well, here it just basically you can change the properties, and I have to show you. See, that's important too. So here, if I go back, this is my data type. I mean, my data tab. I go to refine, okay? And if I click on the column headings, it's going to open the properties. And usually, if it's a categorical, I can. This is a select value. So whenever I filter by that column, I pick the values that I want to see. Here, the data type in this case is text, and I can define the sorting if I want. Aggregation, this becomes important when you do the visualizations. For instance, you can see the average, or you can see the total, something like that. Like I was showing you the map, I could see the total number of students, or I could do the highest GPA per county, or I can see the average GPA per county, right? Okay, now you can use these arrows to navigate to the next column, right, and see the data types, right? Or you can just close this out. You can close this out. Oops. Oh, I see this. It's because look, I was zoomed out. You have to keep the zoom at 100%. Let's close it. And see that you have some numeric ones. So for the numeric ones, when you look at this, see this? To filter it out, you have a slider, right? Instead of pick list, you have a slider. Okay? Well, okay, now let's look at this. I went over the data quality score, right? Then I went over that. This is a vocabulary. Whenever I add a calculation, I'm adding a column. And when I create a calculation, I can use the columns in the same data set. I cannot use the column in another data set to create a calculation. This one is highlighting important key points about the groups. Remember that whenever I have a numeric variable, my groups are going to be the predefined. The number of groups and the group boundary points. This is predefined for me. On the other hand, for the categorical, they're not. I have to physically add the groups that I want. I have to name each group, and I have to put these values in a group, right? So just remember, and then each value may belong only to one group. You cannot place a value in more than one group. Now, hierarchy. Hierarchy all drilling down in your data, and you can define them, or they can be defined for you by Watson Analytics. Well, the typical example would be country, and then you have a state, and then in a state you could have the counties, and even within counties you can further break down by city, or within city you can even break down by zip code, right? Well, you can keep on going, right? You can have it on a date, or you can have it something like on the car model, and then you can do something else. You can do it based on the car properties, perhaps, if it's a car data set. Well, you can always, I'm just making up the hypothetical examples here. Now remember that you can delete something, but when you delete, there is no recycle bin, and to help you remember that, I put this picture here, okay? So there is a picture of the X'd out the recycle bin. It means that anything that you delete will go and permanently gone. You cannot restore it. Now, this is basically on how to ask your questions, and then you can choose any of the starting points, or you can also develop the visualization from scratch. In next class, I'll show you how to do that. Okay, now this one is just showing you the different categories of questions, and you can pick the different category. And then see this, you have the drop downs. You can select the variable you're interested in to look at. Now, This is a spiral model, and I summarize it for you. We can look at the same visualization may have only one target variable. If you want to look at another target variable, you have to create a different visualization. Now here, the closer you're to the center of this bullseye, the stronger is the predictor. And this is a target variable. It's in blue here, and it's also displayed right here. At the bottom, you've got the data trait. You can filter this. Here, this is a list of drivers, and you can display the driver that's composed on one variable or the two variables. You can also search the list of drivers. You can also click on this light bulb, and then you'll see the list of related visualizations that you might be interested in. You can do the decision tree, and here, this is an example for the student GPA. This is what we looked at, but what I did was to help you get more out of it, I put this in writing. So you're going to have the slides, and you're going to have the recording. It really helps when you can read and listen, right? You read, you view, you listen. It's easier, might be a little easier to retain the information. Now let's take, okay, here, this is a tree that I showed you. This is a tree view for the GPA. And I wanted to summarize it for you here, because we just help each other this way. Okay? Now this is for the risk. This is a categorical variable, and just to make sure that I'm not confusing you, you can have a target variable with more than 2 values. For example, if you were looking at the car data set, it has a car risk factor. Car risk factor, the categorical variable, right? The column is called the symbol, and there are like 5 or 6 values, right? So there could be more than 2. In one of your homework assignments, I believe it's assignment 3, you have to do the module for the categorical and for the numeric variable. Some data sets, you could be lucky. In some data sets, you can pick the categorical target and then pick another variable as a numeric. Like this is an example. I can predict the GPA, or I can predict if the student is at risk. And I could also predict the cost, right? So I have options here, right? In some data sets, you don't. You see? Here, I'm just going over the tree views, how you can you can hover over the leaf nodes to see leaf node to see more information. And also you can hover over the non-terminal node and to see the breakdown in there, right? Here, I'm just showing you that you can click on analysis, right? And there are different other options for you. This slide, you want to remember that it exists. Put it aside, but then I want you to go back to it. When you are ready to work on the third assignment, please go back to this slide. It's a table that I showed you, the confusion matrix. You will need to look at this example again, because you'll have to do this for assignment 3 when you're analyzing how accurate is your model. The confusion matrix is available only when the target variable is categorical. So we cannot do this for the GPA. We can do this for the for the student at risk, right? If the student is at risk, you can do it if there is more than one class. Then if you have 4 values, right? 4 values, then my matrix is going to be 4 by 4, right? So here I'm showing you how I calculated these numbers. If you get an understanding of how this works, right, it will be easier for you to understand how the one with 4 values works. This is a good place to start with. You want to understand 2 first, and then you go more in depth and look at more, right? But this is when you work on assignment 3, keep this slide in mind, all right? Here, I'm just showing you how to create a display. In the next class, we're going to look at infographics and storybooks in addition to dashboard. But for today, we just focus on the dashboard, and I put just some things for here. These are the widgets that are available, and this is a discovery. Remember that? This is a discovery that you have created. Whenever you do the display, you can choose from discoveries that you created, or you can create a new one on the fly, right? And this is just the toolbar, the options that you have. And remember, you may share the visualizations with other users, but that user has to be part of the subscription. Remember that you can edit individual visualization, right? This is called the focus mode. And see how I did it. How did I add this? I drag and drop, right? I drag and drop. Then you want to pay attention to different filter types. How I did it: all tab, current tab, and individual visualization. Right? Now, here what I did is this is a visualization. Just assume it, okay? It's there. You can click on this here corner, and it will put it in a focus mode. And here, this is just an explanation. While in the focus mode, you may format this visualization. You may filter it, right? You may use a data tray to filter it, right? And it will apply just to this visualization. If you are on a visualization tab, right? Look here. If you're in the edit mode, you also can change there are some properties that you may change if you're on the edit mode. Let's see here. This one. Right here, you can if you select two and attempt to change properties, then you will be able to change only the properties that they have in common. Right? If you select more than one, you'll be able to change only the properties that those two have in common. I believe it's in the format. Yes. That will see this. If I select just one, I will be able to change the properties of that the selected visualization has. If I select more than one, then I'm able to change only the properties that the selected visualizations have in common. Okay? Now this here, this is a landing page for the display. So just remember that you have the same options here, right? And the delete cannot be undone. There is no recycle bin. You may move another file. Well, what I mean here is that, remember, you can organize your files into folders, and you can move it into your folder. But sharing files with the team will be covered in the next class, because you're not doing the team project is going to be the last assignment, so it will be covered later on. And if you need to rename the visualization, right? Rename the display. It's possible. You're gonna click on this ellipsis and select rename and do the new name. And you can toggle between the tile and line view. Here, this is an example of what should not be done. This will be deleted. See this? All work, you have to save it in your personal area for right now. Anything saved to the root of shared folder will be removed. And I have to do it, otherwise it's going to be a big mess, and you might realize it at some point. Here, very important, I have this web page. In order to enhance the existing functionality and to apply some patching, Watson Analytics has regular maintenance schedule. So here is a web page. I'm doing my best to keep my eye on it and informing the faculty, and the faculty will in turn inform you on the date when you should expect the system to be down. Usually it's on Friday night, 8 p.m. through 12 a.m. So mark this time in your calendar that you might not be able to use the system during that time. And sometimes it's highly possible that during the maintenance time, if you don't see the maintenance page, it does not mean that there is no ongoing maintenance. It could be possible that you might be able to log in, you might be able to upload the data perhaps, but you might not be able to uh, see decision tree model. Just an example, right? So to get all functionality, right, you may want to make sure that you're not attempting to log in during maintenance time. And this web page will help you. It gives you the list of supported browsers because not all browsers are supported, right? So you want to use the compatible browser. Otherwise, the visualizations don't load as expected and more. Okay? This web page is excellent. The community web page. You go in and sometimes other people post questions and you may have the same question. A few times I found my answers and sometimes I posted the question in there too. So, and usually they're very good. They respond about 1 to 2 hours sometimes. Well, but keep in mind they're not going to do your homework. They're not going to do your homework, no. But usually this is what's going to happen if you're running into a problem. Of course, you see if you find the answer and then you apply it to your problem. But if it's an issue, you want to talk to a TA and then talk to me if it's something like administrative, if it's something that could be related to your specific account and so on, right? Your TA will work with me then. Like now, make sure all of you have accounts set up. Well, that's my goal, to make sure you all have access and able to do what you need to do, right? But here it's just very useful. Like for example, the other day, a lot of students were reporting not being able to access the model, something along that line. So what I would usually do is I would go to this page and check if anybody else is reporting this issue. If others are reporting this issue, it means that there could be a global issue, right? This is a nice learning center. They have the videos organized for you. And what I did was I added some additional links that you might be interested in. Well, they may or may not be in the classroom because Watson Analytics keeps on adding the links, but the course content is developed at a certain point, and it's very hard to update in the middle of the semester. So it's highly possible that you might see something that's not in the classroom, or you may not see something that's in the classroom. So it's like a supplement, so to speak, right? So I talked for about a little more than an hour and a half. Now, who was my volunteer? Can somebody tell me how many lines of code I wrote? Just put it in the chat. Don't be shy. Don't be shy, because if nobody asks questions, then I started asking questions. So anybody knows how many lines of code I wrote today? Just take a guess. All right? This answer will help you. Trust me. The answer to this question will help you with the test. It's not a test question, but it's a hint. All right? How many lines of code did I write today? Okay. So let's see if we have questions. Let me have your questions. Because if there are no questions, then Yelena starts asking questions. Right? Is there a recycle bin? Forget about it, there's none. Is everyone still awake? Well, I realize it's 9:35 Eastern Time, but the thing is, this information is very important, and it will pay back in the end, alright? So, yeah, I want you to watch this recording, even if you were able to attend. This video has a lot of important information, okay? So, let's see, who has questions? Is there anybody here still? This is a perfect opportunity to ask questions. Anything? Steve, looks like there are no questions. I'm surprised. Can you still hear me? Can you still hear me? Yes? Oh, excellent, 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 excellent. So anyhow, I'll give you an answer. I did not write any code today. The answer is 0, in case you may have missed part of the presentation. So no code, right? Yeah. Any more questions? Are there any questions? I like when students ask questions. Hmm? Anyone? Because see, the questions will help the rest of the class. If there is anything that I may have missed, Steve? Okay. Oh, what's going on? Okay. If there's anything I missed, Steve, if there is anything I may have missed, if there is anything I may have missed, oh, I cannot hear you. You may have lost your audio. If there is anything that I may have missed, for some. Oh, okay. So not sure what happened to your audio. All right. Well. So, okay, is it possible for you to dial back in, or I'm not sure how that's gonna be. We don't want to lose the recording. Oh, okay, yes, thank you. I guess we are